Howdy folks, we're getting ready to irrigate this orchard. It's kind of our little experiment miniature orchard. We're going to be setting up some irrigation for it to reduce the maintenance and take the load off of everything that we have to keep up with, hand watering things. So we've got some drip tubing here that we're going to run for our main line. This is 1/2 inch, and then we're going to come back with some emitter tubing and run around the trees in a spiral. Okay, so this setup is going to involve these drip lines running the main line to the trees, and then we're going to have the emitter line go in a spiral shape around each tree. And we're going to have a setup on the hydrant there with a timer, a filter, a pressure regulator, a couple of adapters, and a drip tubing adapter. So we're going to run these straight down. The plan is to run them straight down these rows, possibly extend the rows later on if our experiment turns out okay. And each tree will have a spiral of the emitter tubing. Right now, let's cut this open and let's start laying these out. Okay, the pocket knife was sort of working, but seemed a little risky. We got a couple of cutters here. Try these. Alright, looks like the cows have plenty of water, so we can go turn it off and start messing with our setup here for our timer and our filter and everything. So let's go turn that off. I'm going to have to figure something out. This is too long. This is our setup. First of all, I have a pressure gauge here because we're going to measure the pressure. I'm curious what kind of pressure I'm getting out of this hydrant. It seems pretty high actually, so we're going to test that ourselves. This is just a splitter we picked up. I don't even remember where, but it says Gilmore. On the back it says do not put a timer on this, because I'm assuming, it doesn't say, but I'm assuming it's because it's too heavy. But even if we could, it's not going to fit very well without coming in with a shovel and digging this out to fit this on an irrigation line. So we're going to figure out something here. I got a few ideas, but let's talk about the setup here though. We have our timer, and I'll jump over here to the filter real quick, and then here's our nozzle that's going to attach to the irrigation hose. A couple things about this. We actually had a garden adapter set that we could use. I could still use it to come out here and hook to from a garden hose thread to a irrigation drip line. The only thing about that was the filter that was built in is really just a screen, an inline filter. There was no actual canister filter like this guy. Let me take this off and show you. So here we go. Nice big filter. So we wanted this. Unfortunately, maybe I could have ordered it online, but we went to the store and picked up the only one that they had. And I wasn't paying attention, and I wasn't even aware that this one was going to be not garden thread. So this is your national pipe thread. So there are different threads. Be aware what you're looking at. So most of this, everything you see here is garden thread, standard garden thread, and then I had to pick up some adapters. And this is an adapter from garden thread to national pipe thread, and then again going back here, we go through the filter, and here's the pressure regulator. And then we go back to another garden thread here. So here's another adapter here for the national pipe thread to garden thread adapter, and to go in the other direction. All right, before we can do this, we're going to have to figure something out for all these hoses. We have a hose here for random use, little burn piles. We are going to need some sort of splitter here, and this is the hose that we're using to fill the cows for their water tank over there. So somehow I got to get all this together along with the irrigation and the timer to automate it all. And this is a Eastman water pressure test gauge. So we have a loose washer here. settle down. It's almost exactly 75 after it settled down a little bit. So 75 psi coming out of the hydrant, that's good. But we don't need that. We don't need that for, at least for the drip irrigation. Let's go ahead and set this back up. I got an idea, maybe bring a table over here, and instead of hooking up directly at the hydrant and putting any weight on there, I'm just gonna possibly hook up to a hose. I'll bring the hose to the table, probably anchor the hose down and clamp the timer and everything to the table. And then we'll just have a random table here that we can set stuff on when we're at the orchard pruning or getting the fruit. So it'll be a nice setup. I'm kind of curious. I want to check the pressure at the end of the hose before we do that. Depending on what you read and what irrigation setup you have and how long your lines are, you only need about 20, 25, 30 psi from what I can tell. But I'm curious, do we keep the 75 psi at the end of a hose? So let's check that. I was just walking around trying to get the hose and get the water gauge here and lost the washer, so I had to go find it. If you have this Eastman gauge, keep an eye out for that washer falling out. Had to find it in the grass. 75 still. Okay folks, let me tell you something I didn't even realize when I was buying all the filter, the regulator, the timer, everything. I guess I probably figured that there was different types of thread, but I didn't think about it enough and wasn't aware that there's so many types. You know, obviously you got your male and your female thread ends, but you also have what everybody's used to is the garden thread. So you're going to see GPT or the male GPT, female GPT. Now you also have national pipe thread, the NPT. Those two are not directly compatible. You may get something to work, but there's no guarantee and you're probably going to leak. And then there's IPT, which is the iron pipe thread, and the iron pipe thread is supposed to work with the NPT. IPT and NPT can thread, but I think there's some, I'm not an expert, so there's some differences there. I'm sure somebody in the audience knows. But just be aware when you're shopping around for irrigation stuff, everybody has different needs, so they're going to supply you with different types. So you know, if you're hooking up to PVC, they're going to have the NPT, but if you're a typical garden home user, you're going to have GPT that you're going to want. So just be aware that when you're shopping around what you're going to get, be careful. Six-inch garden stakes. Don't squish the line. All right, we're going to lay out this short line first because I'm hoping with only 2 trees we're going to have some line left over. That should let us go across, start connecting these lines. Put it on the same side of the tree. They're all on the same side. Predictable. It looks like it's going to work out perfect. We cut the line that was on the short row. We'll come back and add trees hopefully later. But the line that we cut is just about perfectly going to the 3rd row, next row, and we'll come to the table here and hit our filter and our setup for the faucet there. So it's going to work out. Couldn't have worked out better. 300 feet and worked out perfectly for what we have. Okay, in order to join our tubing, we got elbows. These are the barbed elbows. But we also have compression elbows here, if we so choose to use those. And we have barbed tees and compression tees. So we have our choice. I just bought extra to have around since this is going to be an ongoing thing. The compression seems to be more of a, you know, reversible job. Certainly this is more solid, it seems like. These barbed ones are supposed to be more permanent. You only do it once, you don't take it back off. So it really doesn't matter in our case. These are a little bit cheaper, the barbs are a little bit cheaper. So we'll probably go with these. But if these don't work out as well, then we will switch to the compression. I also brought my handy pipe cutters, so that'll speed up this process. I'm going to clean up this cut here. Alright, much better cut than before with the other cutters for this particular usage. Alright, so we're going to put our T fitting elbow on here. Alright, our barb T is in. Let's hook up the next one. Alright, we're in. Alright. Feels good, the first one's done. Let's take it right by the elbow, just to start. Another one on this side for reinforcement. These are about, I believe these are about 6 cents a piece, so not too bad. You can use a bunch of them. Okay, we're going to keep it coming this way, a little bit, piece by piece. There we go. There's our first T. I'm going to put one on each side of this T here. Well, one on every side, so 3 of them. There's already the one there. We're going to go ahead and add in these. Mallet works well for a nice dead blow that doesn't misshape anything. And just rotating this so that the spiraling comes out of the hose. Just gently tugging and getting that spiral out of it. Okay. Another barb T. And we got a little extra hose. So I'm gonna make another cut here before we put this side on. Alright, we can go ahead and connect this into the bottom of our setup here. We're gonna just connect it to the outlet here for this 1/2 inch diameter. We'll go ahead and take this off. Make this job a little easier. Okay. Alright, we're on. Now, I haven't put any tape thread on this, so we'll see if anything leaks and then we'll patch it up, but let's just go ahead and connect it all together for now. Okay, let me show you what we could have done. This is your standard Rainbird drip watering faucet connection kit. So you can come straight off a faucet. There's a diagram here. Straight off a faucet, you're going to go through this apparatus, this setup, and go out to your irrigation, right? Basically from the faucet. So you got a tiny little filter in there. You got a backflow preventer, your 25 psi pressure regulator, a 1/2 inch tubing adapter, and then the drip tubing example here. So you would put all this together. Again, the only thing about that is, and I did use, so I took some of this out and used it in here. I did not use their 25 psi pressure regulator. Seems probably like it's decent, it's fine. But I had seen these examples online. This one seems just as good, probably just as good, but probably a little bit better. Just looking at it, it seems like it'd be quality, you know, for PVC. This is NPT thread. And also, like I said, like there's just an inline tiny little filter in here. It's just basically a little tiny little disc. I wanted a canister filter, go big or go home, and so that's what we have here. Now I did buy extra adapters for the future just in case, but again, this is GPT to NPT and NPT to GPT to reverse that process. So it's all to use this filter. If I had found they do make these type of filters, canister filters, in a garden thread. This was just not available anywhere near me. I never found one. So I was lucky to find this one, which was NPT, and we had to do the double adapter to go in and go out again. So your mileage may vary. Hopefully you can find what you need. Just take it under advisement that you may not find it and you may need adapters. From the top we have obviously the hose comes in, the timer. This is the backflow preventer that came with this one. I used that one. Adapter, GPT to NPT filter, then the pressure regulator, and then NPT to GPT adapter. Again, use this piece from this kit, and then the half-inch diameter hose on the outside there. All right, here's the filters in this Rainbird drip watering faucet connection kit. So the backflow preventer has this filter, and there's this inline filter here. So that's really all we'd be dealing with if we didn't swap it out with that canister filter. So felt like definitely that canister filter would be better than that. Also, here are the valves that we're going to be using, the shutoff valves. So this is kind of optional, but you know, if you ever had a tree that you did not want to water on schedule, you could definitely turn it off if you're having trouble with it. Or if let's say you lose a tree, you can just turn off water. You're not wasting water to that spot. Unfortunately, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of these. So I wasn't even able to get enough of these to do all the trees that we have. Technically we have 12 trees. 2 of them I think are gone. So 10 effectively. But again, with supply chains as they are, you know, not able to get even enough of these. So we'll get one later for the missing one, but we'll put these in as an optional shutoff valve for each tree. Okay, we're going to be using a half-inch clamp to seal this off. Alright, I didn't bring my good cutters, so I'll go get them, but we'll try this first, see if this works. I'm going to just get one of these clamps. These are the Rainbird half-inch or 5/8 clamps. Alright, we'll test that later. Alright, this is our short row, the 2-tree row, and I guess I have an option here. I could either do an elbow and not have to cap the end, or I can just do a T like we would normally do, and that way I'd still have extra hose keep going this way for when we want to keep extending this row. So either way, I think just to be consistent and not have to come back and undo it later, I'll just use a T like we normally would on a tree. All right, next one. Okay, on to row 2. Alright folks, time for row 3. We took a break and it got hot, but had to eat lunch. Row 3. Row 3. Okay, here we are at the end of row 2. We're just gonna cap this off. Maybe one day we'll go that way with it, but for now we're gonna cut off some hose and cap it right here on the end. Alright, now that we cut the hose for rows 2 and 3, we have a bunch of extra hose here we can use to go to our shutoff valve and then switch over to the emitter tubing on the other side of the valve for each tree. Okay, it's a nice night. Let's finish up a little bit more before it gets too hot again. Let's start putting on our 1/2-inch emitter tubing on each tree. Well, this emitter tubing has these holes, these emitter holes every 18 inches. So if you were to follow this one around, it'd be 18 inches. There it is right there. And it's rated for 0.9 gallons per hour. 0.9 gallons per hour, 18 inches. Okay, there's our leader connector, shutoff valve, and emitter line. Now we just need to decide how many rings we want of the emitter line, considering each emitter every 18 inches is 0.9 gallons per hour. Okay, it seems to me there's 2 ways to do this. From the outside in to the middle, or from the inside out to the middle, whichever works best for you. But I think also if you ever want to come back and make more, if your tree gets bigger and you want to make a bigger ring around your tree, then perhaps it would be better to go inside and work your way out. But let's start staking down some of this leader here. Okay, for better or for worse, I went from the inside out. I did 1, 2, 3 full 360s, part of the spiral, plus another quarter of a circle here, and then capped it off. So if we ever want to make this ring bigger and make another loop on the circle, or 2 loops, we can easily extend off of here and just keep going bigger rather than coming from the middle. Okay folks, that's got to be it for today. I ran out of the garden staples. I ran out of the stakes, so I ended up using more than I thought I would. I think I just wanted to be very secure and I don't want to have problems. So I ended up using a lot of staples. We'll be back tomorrow, I think. We'll get the rest of the trees with some spirals around them, and then we'll be turning it on to make sure it works. Right now I'm giving the cows some water off the hydrant. Pretty soon we'll have hydrant feeding cows water and giving the trees some water. Life, and life more abundant. Tomorrow's a big day. We got to do the emitter line, do some tests to make sure that everything's working, put some batteries in the timer, and start testing the whole system.